This show is brought to you by Beco Dairy Automation. You have tuned in to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. We call it the Dairyman source for news, ideas, information, and technology, mixed with a double dose of current market conditions. The what, the why, and the how things influence the amount of money dairy producers receive for their daily milk deliveries. We offer this daily news hour magazine as a catalyst for long-term dairy producer sustainability. We invite every dairy producer in America to get their daily dose of what can be done and what they can do to achieve and maintain profitability on their farms. $22 for 36 months is our goal. We advocate there is a way forward. We invite dairy producers to come listen, learn, and participate. This is a no-complaint zone. We talk solutions. So get out your pen and paper. And now, here's your host of the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, Mr. Tom Van Nortwick, owner of Agribusiness Publications, publisher and editor of the Agribusiness Dairyman magazine.
Good morning and welcome. It is Thursday, March the 17th, 2016. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you, Stuart, for our introduction as usual. Does a great job. The morning is beautiful here in California. The weather warming up. We've had some good amounts of rain over the last couple of weeks here in California, as have other parts of the country. Spring is about to spring on us. Just a few more days. By this time next week, we'll be underway with the spring 2016. Good morning. My name is Tom Van Nortwick with Agribusiness Publications. This is the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine. We are a publishing company for many, many years just in print, and we're still struggling to be better at that than we are. But we've come a ways forward in our efforts to try and provide easier and more abundant access to good information. And so this morning we'll cover the news. We'll be meeting up with Ron O'Brien of Interfoods, a senior global strategist for that company out of Florida, who for a very long time now has been gracious enough to provide for us an open door to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, which is where things dairy are handled on a daily basis, what we call the yard sale of dairy. We'll talk about that someday, but not today, with too many other things to go over and to cover. In the news today, some end users and secondary marketers have filled their warehouses to assure coverage of butter needs for later in the year. Doesn't that make you excited? Free trade agreements generate $8.3 billion in 10 years. That's all conjecture, of course. Some Midwest spot loads of milk are available at $1.50 to $3 under class prices. Participants in the market indicate southeastern manufacturing plants are operating at capacity levels. That makes them happy, of course. Good old Taco Bell, Burrito Supreme, 2 tacos, and a large Pepsi. In my younger days, no more Pepsi, and usually just 2 tacos. But Taco Bell testing burrito with core of cheese. We like that. Just make sure it's good cheese, guys. The good stuff. Give us the good stuff. Majority of dairy farmers are still hoping the market will improve in the short term, but that isn't going to happen. Now, I didn't say that. I didn't write that, but there it is. And we'll actually start there in just a moment. Despite the dairy industry doing tough at the moment, we are in the usual situation of solid growth. Now, see, and that's the contradictory part of all of this. And they're predicting some significant growth over the next 10 to 20 years. Unfortunately, we're going to be doing it with fewer dairy farmers because we don't take care of the goose. Unfortunately, average dairy farmer staring down the barrel of $210,000 deficit. Okay, and so I want to pick that up this morning just as we wait and wade through things a little bit. Now, this is a New Zealand farmer, and you need to. The reason I focus on this is because this is a great way for us to to look down the road. I almost wondered if it's kind of a mirror, but it's not, because they're in worse shape than we are. So we're just kind of looking into the future just a little bit in behalf of domestic producers. And so, but here's what this article had to say. It appeared, for your benefit, just so you know, it appeared in the New Zealand Farmer at newzealandfarmer.com. .co, nzfarmer.co.nz. So you can go pick it up there. And again, we really just focus all of our time and attention on articles that come to us out of the industry. We don't write this stuff. We don't make it up. We just analyze things every morning, and you can come here and kind of hear what we think and what we see based on what we're told. Okay. Weymouth South Mayor Craig Rowley has said the downturn was having a massive onflow in his town. I don't know what onflow means, how that translates, which has 2 dairy factories and is surrounded by some of the biggest farms in New Zealand. Dairy NZ has done the sums of what a $3.90 payout will mean for the average. Now, $3.90 payout is somewhere under $12. Okay, and some say the equivalent of about between 9 and 12, but closer to 9 than 12 probably. Okay, for the average dairy farmer, and it adds up to being in the red, $210,000 at season's end, May 1. The average farm is considered to be 146 hectares, milking 414 cows. There we go. There are some stats that I did not know. But despite the hard times, Statistics New Zealand figures show imports of expensive palm kernel and fertilizer were higher in 2015 than the year before. So those are products, of course, that they're using to keep things going. Tractor imports, on the other hand, plummeted last year. No kidding. See, this is the aftermath, gang. Tractor imports, on the other hand, plummeted. New Zealand doesn't make tractors. Okay, New Zealand imports their farm equipment. Where from? All over the world. But definitely, if they could, they'd get them here. But I've talked to a equipment dealer here in our area in California, and all of his overseas stuff has just dried up and stopped. And the reason why is because the value of the dollar higher against foreign currencies. Okay, so here's some factors. Low dairy payouts could cost New Zealand banks billions. Reserve Bank stress tests show. Dairy prices fall following European moves to support farmers. Now, see, that's a hammer, guys. That's a hammer. Every other country, even New Zealand and Australia, do provide taxpayer dollars to help support the industry. And while they may not do a direct bailout, there are things being done with taxpayer dollars to support the industry. So you got the market plus government, plus good dairy farmers, plus a lot of cows. Dairy downturn will have massive effect on the South Island economy. So the article goes on. In 2015, 2.2 million kilograms of palm kernels worth $421 million were imported, up from 2.01 million. Okay, fertilizer, and I'm going to guess palm kernels. I don't know what they are. I'm sorry, but it must be feed. Something to add to the rations. Fertilizer imports for the 12 months to the end of January 2016 cost $790 million, up 20.3% on the year before, while tractor imports were 3,408, down from 5,232 in 2014. At the beginning of the 2015-16 season, the Dairy New Zealand forecast was an even worse 250,000 deficit per farm. Dairy New Zealand economist Matthew Newman said higher milk production and lower fuel costs had slightly improved the situation. Milk production is only about 2% down for the season, so that's been a real positive. Oh my gosh, guys, somebody said that. That's been a real positive. Yeah, too much milk is not good. We had forecast about 5% too much milk, Newman said. He said it was intriguing that the statistics showed the higher imports of palm kernel and fertilizer. The goods would not have been imported if farmers were not buying them. And see, that's the amazing benefit of a dairy economy in a place like New Zealand, California, all over the country, is this: it churns and burns all the time. Most farming is cyclic, okay? In America, in the winter months, they don't do much. And in some parts of the country, the winter months are long and cold. And so, things dry up and die off, and everybody needs to have a sustained economy. Well, when farming's farming, it's usually, let's go March 1st through, Thanksgiving, and then there could be a quarter there of the year, 1/4 of the year, where farming is just it's just sitting there. And they're fixing equipment, and fixing facilities, and they're repairing and maintaining, and life goes on, but things slow down dramatically. Employment is lessened and spending is lower. But in dairy's 24/7, 365. They're buying feed and veterinary bills and maintaining cattle and feeding, nutrition and care and milking and shipping, and everything goes on. Are there busier times during the growing season? Yes. But, man, everything is just... In December, fertilizer companies lowered their prices, which could have implied farmers were not buying, or that companies' inventories were higher than they liked. Federated Farmers Dairy spokesman Andrew Hogarth said the increase in fertilizer imports could be explained by other sectors such as sheep and beef, yada, yada, yada. However, palm kernel was used only by dairy farmers. Gotta be feed. If you're harvesting as much of your feed as possible, when you're buying in supplements, you're still on a winner. Okay? Whatever that means. But if you're buying in supplements when you're not harvesting your own grass, then you're wasting money. Somebody'd have to explain that to me. On the expenses side, farm working costs are $572,000, interest and rent $216,000, taxes are $8,000, and net drawings $78,000 for a total of $874,000. See, nearly $1 million operations. This is no small deal, these little dairy farms, and they're important. They're important to the whole economy of that country, of course, as they are here in America. We have a lot of little dairies. Not all of them are giganto. Some of them are very small. We're going to be calling on Ron O'Brien, or joining up with him, I should say, here in just a moment. Let me grab that. Stay tuned. This is the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine. We'll see if we can connect up with him right away and keep us all going. Hang on.
Hello, I'm Eva Strang, Education Coordinator for the Allied Milk Producers. Cereal and milk have always been a mainstay for breakfast, at least since 1882. That's when the first commercially manufactured cereal was made by Henry Perky. It was called shredded wheat, and it's still with us today as one of the most popular cereals. Remember, breakfast is probably the most important meal of the day, and a good breakfast includes nutritious dairy foods like milk on cereal. A good way to start the day.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoKnows.com.
All right, welcome back. This is the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine. We've attempted to make connections with Ron O'Brien this morning, and so far we've missed blocks and barrels and just now came up on time for the time that would normally be the dry powder trade. So we're going to make the assumption that we're not going to have Ron O'Brien. We may take a break and check up on him in just a little bit. Let me make sure that we're still running in our recording session. We are, and thank you for joining us this morning. This is the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. We're broadcasting on Thursday, the 17th of March, 2016, and covering, as usual, the dairy news of the day. And not a ton of good news. Loads are going looking for a home at $1.50 to $3 under class. Indicate southeastern plants are operating at capacity. We covered that. Taco Bell. Majority of dairy farmers are still hoping the market will improve in the short term, but that isn't going to happen. And we had pointed to that. I want to make sure that I was looking at several other things, and yeah, this is our girl. And out of the National Farmers Union British, the voice of British farming, and the young lady's name here is. Hang on while I find that. Chief Dairy Advisor C.N. Davies reflects on this week's meeting that brought together organizations from across the industry. She writes the following. We know that many dairy farmers are facing continued severe financial pressure from ongoing low prices. But what kind of support is out there for them? This week, the NFU and AHDB Dairy organized it's called hashtag Decision for Dairy, hashtag Decision for Dairy, bringing organizations from across the industry, those that work or advise dairy farmers, sitting down together to discuss ways of supporting farmers in the challenging months ahead. And it was encouraging that we had representatives of banks, feed companies, consultants, vets, accountants, other farming unions, and the farming charities together in one room. Farmers need access to accurate and unbiased information and need to know where to go for this information. All the organizations represented at the meeting agreed that they have a role in signposting farmers to this information. Okay, and so there's more of our staff blogs. Our response to bee health, all of that, we're not going there. What was clearly established from the event is that there are three groups of dairy farmers. Some have a clear business plan going forward, and some have already decided to leave. The vast majority of dairy farmers are still hoping the market will improve in the short term, but that isn't going to happen. We need to help them plan to survive the next 12 months. Another overriding theme that came through was the need to stress that change is essential in some cases, but does not necessarily mean exiting the dairy industry. There are alternatives available, but the longer farmers leave it to make a decision, then the fewer the options. William Neville's 12 key questions shared at AgriHive's meeting late last year will form a good basis for all of us to start discussions with dairy farmers on their strategy to survive periods of low milk prices. Okay, and then there's a click here. I'm gonna run there. Interesting what his 12 key questions might be. And see if it'll jump out there real fast. Hang on. William Neville's 12 key questions. All dairy farmers should ask themselves right now. Okay. Let's cover them. I think we're okay to do that. We don't have the markets this morning anyway. I do have to get rid of this in order to get to that so I can shut off this. Okay, now I've got to bring that back up. Okay, did it. All right, hang on. Here we go. Question number 1. Have you the mindset to take control of your own destiny, or do you feel bewildered and a hopeless victim of circumstances? 2, is dairy, and that we don't see that in America too much, but these guys have been going through this for a longer time. Is dairy farming right for you and your family? What are your plans for inheritance? Are you doing the right thing? What will you need to invest in your facilities in the next 10 years? How will you fund it? and justify it? Number 4, do you really know your cost of production? What is the realistic future price? Are you looking at the evidence or living on hope? Number 6, have you worked out whether you are producing what your milk purchaser really wants? I.e., are you maximizing your return under your milk contract? Could you get premiums, in other words, and things like that to help you out? Number 7, what are you really paying yourself per hour? What can you afford to pay yourself and remain competitive? Would you be better off paying someone else and trying to add value to other parts of the business? What are your other skills? How much, and these are all one question, so there's a lot of questions inside 7. How much could you earn off farm part-time or full-time? See, that's what's happened. Instead of paying these guys what they're worth and what their milk is worth. But of course, you guys have got to produce the right amount of milk because it's free market. You got to deal with the market. Might there be a day when you will find yourself stranded without a milk purchaser at all? Are you buying all your inputs at best prices? And when did you last check alternatives? Number 10, are you ruthless and honestly benchmarking your performance and constantly trying to identify ways to incrementally improve performance? Number 11, have you got your eyes open for the niche opportunities even if they start small? Number 12, do you have the right skills for the technology, right skills for the technologically and market-driven global dairy industry of the future? Now, see, it's so amazing how they drive that, and they've foisted that on producers all over the world. That it's you gotta be in the global economy. Yeah, there you go. You know what? I like what they gave us here. Those are some great questions. We will save them and pass them along because I think it's important that probably everybody ask those kind of and their particular operations, and that's an important thing to do. I'm going to go back to the blog from NFU, and of course where she. Well, we've probably covered that enough. But anyway, there are people coming forward. They're providing help and assistance for dairy producers there in the European Union, and those things just go on and on and on because we're not doing anything at all to kind of set up a groundwork to where dairy producers could be earning a better living all the time by being more market responsive to milk production. Dairy producers here in the United States have devised a way that all dairy producers can participate, and it requires dairy producers, of course, to be working together. And they're so independent by nature and by choice, and that it makes it tough for a great deal of synergy to be created, where the total would be greater than the sum of the parts, but it's going to be necessary. That's going to be our number one focus, is the organization of dairy producers behind a very specific plan, because there are means and opportunity. There's certainly reason enough. The value of the infrastructure and the output of dairy farms in the United States make it well worth the effort of fixing this problem. And of course, in today's news, guys, here it is all over again. We see, everybody stored away enough butter at cheap prices to shield themselves literally for Christmas. I guarantee you, Christmas and holiday traffic 2016, the inventories are already there waiting for. Okay? That's how far out things are. The expectation and the perpetuation that all is well. Don't worry, it's going to get better. New Zealand, despite the dairy industry going through it tough at the moment, we are in the usual situation of solid growth. They're in the solid growth end of selling and profitable margins after the milk is delivered by the farmer, but everybody from the farmer down is taking it in the shorts. And the article today, staring down the barrel of $210,000 to $250,000 in debt, deficit per farm there in New Zealand. And I guarantee you it's going to be a lot worse than that here in the United States per farm. We have the capacity, if the economic signals are right, to expand. Now, and that's a whole other perspective, and that's coming from Blue Lake Dairy to invest $65 million for a milk processing plant in South Australia's Tantanoola. Okay, and this is Chinese Blue Lake Dairy Company. Okay, Chinese-owned Blue Lake Dairy is the latest company to throw its hat in the dairy export ring. Okay?
Move over, Manny, Mo, and Jack. For quick, convenient auto service and no appointment needed, ask for G Express service from Grupetti Automotive in Visalia. We'll guarantee an oil and filter change in as little as 39 minutes. And there's more. Need your tires rotated? A brake job? Even a 15,000-mile service. There's no appointment necessary, and we'll guarantee your service time. G Express. It's a new level of convenience you'll only find at Grupetti Automotive.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoKnows.com.
Okay, so the company formed in September 2015 has lodged its application to the White Range City Council to revitalize an old potato chip factory in South Australia's southeast into a milk processing and packaging facility. BLD currently employs just 4 workers, but said stage 1 of their project will create a future 60 jobs. The $65 million project comprises 2 stages. The first stage, worth $15 million, means the company should be exporting milk powder into China by July this year. How about that? And you should see this. I mean, it's just a place out in the middle of nowhere there. But see what China's doing? Incrementally, step by step, China's taking care of their own. The second stage of the process, worth $50 million, will create the technology for the company to make its own base milk powder. Company spokesman Sarah Bennett, that doesn't sound too Chinese, does it? See, they're hiring the qualified people to do the work, and Sarah Bennett said if the second stage of the project was successful, the company would be asking local dairy farmers for milk supply by late 2017. Some local dairy farmers already have started approaching us. We are still interested to talk with everyone who are interested to supply milk in the future. Ms. Bennett said the project would bring much-needed confidence to the industry. We exist to help local dairy farms to stay strong and helping them to grow their own businesses as well. The company is also looking at sourcing some milk powder from Midfield Group in Penola. wherever that's at. We believe Midfield Dairy Factory is going to produce base milk powder, so we are going to arrange a meeting with them. Director of Dairy Australia, James Mann, said dairy investment in the southeast of South Australia was welcome news for local dairy farmers. Mr. Mann said the investment did throw the issue of capacity into question. If we don't expand, then it'll put pressure on where we will sell our milk, he said. We have the capacity if the economic signals are right to expand. Whether we can expand enough to cope with Midfield and these guys, BLD, I think time will tell. Well, if you give it to a dairy producer, there's not going to be any shortage of milk. Okay? There's no doubt about that. And so the point that we bring into this, and our cover story focus of the day is that there are a lot of factors in this, and one of them, of course, is the continual expansion of capacity, which dangles in front of producers the concept that there's always a place for your milk. And yes, there is always a place for your milk. But at what price? Okay, and so, and then we have this article this morning about the government guy there overseas. Again, NewZealandFarmer.com.nz, and listen to what he says. Farmers are feeling the pain of low prices, with the latest calculations looking like and here we are with our cotton picking. It's my system is such that we get pop-ups coming in on us all the time. But I was going to give you what he said. Farmers were experiencing volatile markets, with the world basically awash with milk, and it could take supply and demand correction to rectify this. Oh, that's a brilliant. No, it's my belief we are not at crisis levels. They're all losing $210,000 this year, but they're in deficit 210. But we're fine. Why? Because there's plenty of milk. They're processing milk, and they are exporting whatever they can. Exports are down, and so European Union's competing with them, and they got more cows. The U.S. is always a factor. What we are experiencing is a period of volatility. If you have a look, if you have to look in the last 7 months, I have been tracking it. The price Fonterra has been indicating we have gone through a hump and a hollow, and we are back to where we started. Milk prices have gone into extreme volatility, with Fonterra's forecasted payout following suit, rocketing from an initial $5.25 a kilogram of milk solids to $3.85 to $4.60, and then to $4.15, and then back down this month to $3.90. Guy said demand was still growing, but there was a lot of milk coming in from the European Union, and although it was difficult to calculate Chinese inventories, there was likely to be some stockpiling, and the United States was processing more milk as well. I said the as well. So it is quite tough on the farm right now. We are all interested to see what Fonterra does next week when they open up their books, and there may well be a support package which farmers will receive with open arms. Because right now on farm it's very tough, but the medium to long-term outlook for dairy is incredibly bright. He said farmers were entering a period of low milk prices, which have lasted longer than thought. My belief is that 2016 we will see this seesaw its way a bit, and global dairy trade auction will come up and down. And the good thing is Fonterra is not putting so much reliance on GDT now, and they are looking, but that's how the farmers are getting paid. Ay, kilamba. What a schmucks. Guy said the government was doing what it could to help farmers through with the extra $500,000 investment in mental. Oh my gosh! Extra $500,000 investment, guys, in mental health wellness initiatives and training clinicians and rural professionals to detect the early signs of depression and bolstering rural support trusts. Oh. Government needs its butt kicked up between its ears. Guy said he had managed the family's dairy farm in the early 2000s in Lebanon, and the records showed farmers then were getting $4.20 on average for about 5 years. And the opportunity today was for farmers to look back inside the farm gate. Dairy New Zealand initiatives were aimed at growing more grass more efficiently, and if this could be achieved with cost-cutting farming, could continue to be viable into the future. See, they're always looking for you guys to, and I know it's a big deal on the farms here in America, to do what? To become more efficient. Oh, improve efficiencies, guys. You can survive all of this, and you can tolerate all of these prices in the $9, $10, $11, $12, $13, because that's where we are, 12, 13, maybe up to 16 for fluid, okay? But they're going to make sure that, this is government. And if you don't think this is going to come up in the United States, you're dead wrong, because they think exactly alike. They're not into solving the problem. And, of course, you've got to become part of the solution, too, guys. This is not, we are not a bunch of welfare babies. That's not what you guys do, is welfare. I hope you don't want to just do welfare. I hope you're willing, and I'm banking on the fact that you'll accept a plan forward that puts you in charge. The supply of milk should be in charge of the price of milk. The supply. OPEC's done it with their oil, have you noticed? Can you be like OPEC? You can. But you've got to work together, okay? Because this is the alternative. We're presenting this for you as a means where you can see what's coming ahead of what's about to happen here in the United States, because they want to relegate farmers to this mentality that it's global's fault. See, because the price of milk being set on the CME today, and I'm sure it took place, we didn't have our connection this morning for whatever reason, but guess what? It set the price of milk as the minimum somebody could pay you. So why do they always just pay the minimum? Well, the reason they pay the minimum, whatever that is, and every time it goes down, everything goes down, is because they get away with it. You've empowered them. Okay? You've empowered them. Guy said banks did not, finishing this article, and I am going to finish it because you have to be aware, dadgummit, of the stupidity that is in charge of dairy worldwide, because it is just stupid. This is how they respond. Too little, too late. Things should have been done 24 months ago, and they have not been, and it's everybody's fault. But everybody else but a dairy producer profits when this happens. This is when they get even. The $14 billion you didn't get in 15, somebody got it. It wasn't you. You're going to lose another 14 or more billion this year in revenues that could have come to the farmer, could have come to the dairyman, that's not going to come to the farmer and the dairyman. Why? Because you didn't ask for it. You failed to organize yourselves. You failed to be market responsive with milk production. You failed to take total responsibility for all of your overproduction all the time. You're going to have to do that. Get ready. It's going to be what it requires. And if you'll do that, then you can start focusing time and attention on profitability, not milk production. You got the milk production thing down. You got the quality down. You got animal care down, nutrition, your efficiencies. Guys, you've about maxed it out. Are there going to be more? Sure. I think you could do better. And size, we've learned 16 to 24% more efficient. Financially, the number of cows on a given facility does make a huge difference. But that doesn't mean we have to wipe out the 50-cow dairies. It doesn't mean we have to price them out of the industry. There are a lot of people out there that are reliant on that lifestyle as a means to perpetuate what they want to do and how they want to raise their family and where they want to live and what they want to do every day. They love what they do. And I think we have to be smart enough to afford the opportunities for growth with the largest number of dairymen we possibly can. Few dairies is not better. We've proven that. You've gone from 600,000 dairies down to 45,000 in the United States, and the numbers around the world are just staggering. And guess what? You're not doing any better now than when you had 80,000 more. We still have this volatility. We're still allowing them to name the price, and dairy producers are not. Well, the article ends this way. Guy said banks did not want to see farmers booted off their land and were supporting rural lenders as well as realizing they did not want to damage their reputations with them. However, a minority of farmers on the margins would find it tough, he said. He said it had to be remembered that other areas of the primary industry were going well, with beef exports up 3.2 million in the last year. Horticultural going gangbusters in apple, kiwi fruit, and wine sales, and forestry and wool was on the up, and the seafood sector going well, albeit that lamb was a bit more, he calls it squishy, not special, than would be liked. Rural regions were being supported by high tourism activity as well. Good for them. New Zealand still needed to invest in long-term water storage projects, which would boost the rural economy and the environment, he said. Oh, boy. We should send you our storage experts from California. That would add to this guy's stupidity. Mr. Guy, I can't believe he came from the farm, but there you go, gang. They're going to have health care for you, though. They're going to have better wellness initiatives, and I wish I could quote what he said, but, it's all about your mental health. That's what his mental health specialists. All right, so corn and soybeans mixed as Federal Reserve leaves rate unchanged, so that's nice. U.S. cattle futures notch fresh 4-month highs on demand outlook. So, we are seeing a little strengthening in the beef. All right. Well, we've pretty much talked our way in and out of this thing today. This is just another example, one day, of the news articles that come forward and the contradictory leadership or the contradictory mentality and leadership initiatives that are brought about in the dairy industry, trying to justify the fact that they're killing the goose that lays the golden egg, and they don't care. They really don't care. Because if they cared, and you've got to, again, take responsibility, gang, as the farmers, as the dairymen, but if they really cared, we could just fix this. You fix this by being market responsive with milk production. You fix this by expanding the number of people consuming more milk. We've got a lot of people in the world, and there's more outside of the U.S. that are not getting a daily dose of dairy or multiple doses of dairy per day. High protein, good nutrition, great taste, doesn't exist. And then what they want to do is they want to give them ultra high pasteurized. And and I would admit that that's probably better than nothing. But we've got a lot of people here domestically, U.S., that are not receiving a daily dose of dairy. High protein, high nutrition, great taste, comfort food. I mean, I had an ice cream cone yesterday. It was really cool. We have the what's used to be called the thrifty ice cream. Rite Aid in our community still sells ice cream by the cone. Butter pecan, Rocky Road, good stuff. And so we're doing our part, of course, but, we've got some 49 to 65 million people who don't get a daily dose, don't get a weekly dose, don't get a monthly dose of dairy. And we should and could be doing everything we can to see to it that they get that. We have milk fluid across this country not fortified to the max like it should be. Better taste, more nutrition is the focus. We're going to focus on that. And there is what we think an expansion of 15 to 30% more domestic consumption utilization available to us if we'll go there. And it's a lot more stable, huge stability compared to global. Unhinged global, get it. Why should fluid milk, with no decline in fluid milk sales in the United States, be $10 a hundredweight under? $10 a hundredweight, gang, under where it should be. Class 1, Class 2. It's bad enough where 3, 4, and 4B are, but holy cow, fluid? There's been no decline. There's none. Minimal at best. And yet, what? Not quite a 50% reduction, but probably every bit of 35 to 45% reduction in total price paid to a dairyman who is milking cows, producing high quality, great product, delivering it to that market, a stable market, here in the United States, and because your milk buyers have been able to tie your pricing to the global market, and the EU is going crazy. More cows, more milk coming from all over. Good grief, from Brazil. We're going to see Brazil get into the game. We're seeing India getting better. China, the article after article after article, China is going to make the milk, gang. They're not going to be buying from us long term. They will not. And while it's going to increase demand, because once the Chinese people and the Indian people, get what they want, there's a lot of them. There's a lot more people. Brazil, same way. Millions of people that will love what you make. And I don't care whether you make it here or abroad, but, we got the best here in America, and people will pay a higher price for the best. But, what they want us to do is your milk buyers want you to become more competitive and get the price of milk down lower. We may very well see $9 milk in 2016 here in the United States again. Why? Because of lack of synergy, lack of organization, lack of a spirit of unity, working together behind one plan. Well, the good news of the morning is we have a plan. We're going to go forward with it. We're banging on doors now. We leave here in just a little while to do that very thing, to go out and take a proposal to dairy producers asking for their support of a plan to organize producers in an effort to increase domestic consumption and utilization of milk and milk products 30%. That's our goal. And thereby stabilizing, instead of this volatility, stabilizing milk domestically so that you have a consistent budget, a margin that you can live and work with. I had a dairyman say, well, gosh, if we were making all that money, then more people want to get into milk. Well, you have to be in charge of that too. Sorry, but you got to be in charge of that too. You only need so much milk at any given time, and we got to know what that number is. And we got to produce to that number. We got to hit it better. We can't miss by this much. You can't miss by 2 to 4 years. How can you miss by 2 to 4 years? And worse than that is to never respond at all. Never respond at all with market-managed milk production on the farm relative to profitable demand, either domestic or global. Never respond. Simply wait it out. When you have the ability to make the change, you have the ability to respond and become market responsive all the time and take full responsibility, whether on the front end or the back end. If it's already in inventory, then we got to deal with that. That stairwell has to be emptied. We got to climb it. We're going to have to walk into that stairwell. We're going to have to empty that stairwell, and we got to climb back up to a profitable price. You don't get to take the elevator. You took the elevator down. It has one stop, and it usually stops at the bottom before that lets you into the stairwell to then take care of the inventory that has built up while you've waited and waited and waited and waited, thinking that demand was going to come back. The world is changing dramatically. And the people out there are going, you know what? There's got to be a better way. China's going to find the better way. They've already done it. They're buying all your stuff at half price. Way smarter than the people who are managing your dairy world. Way smarter. Back off, pick it up at half price. Back off some more, pick it up below half price. Back off some more, keep it at half price. In, out, back and forth. Not consistent. Don't be consistent because this is so volatile and they've got you convinced that that's the only way. You start to take control of the valve, the tap that produces it, and that's the only hope you have. Otherwise, the buyer is in complete control. And it is perpetuated by the people who are your milk buyers. They want these low prices. They love it when fluid is, below 16. They love it. The margins are gigantic. The profits unlimited. 14 billion you didn't get last year that you got the year before. Can you tell the difference between 14 and 15? Could you go back and look at the records if you've forgotten? But I know how you must have felt. It had to have been a good time. We can go back to 14, and that's what we're going to do. $22 for 36 months in a row is our goal. The Agribusiness Dairyman 2020 agenda. You can read the contract with producers on our website at my-dairyman.com. Still the best policy document for dairy farmers in the country. Dairy pricing, all part of the contract with producers, was put there because it was the right plan at the right time for managed milk production on the farm relative to profitable demand, not quotas, not government, not intervention by anybody at any time. No permission required. Simply take responsibility for your milk production at all segments of the market development from start to finish. You be in charge. You call the ball. Okay? We don't give it to anybody else but you. Dairy farmers in charge. And then they'll show you the numbers. You don't see the numbers anywhere else. Everybody has all these other programs, including margin protection, including CWT, but nobody shows the numbers. You never see the numbers, okay? You never see the numbers, and that's huge. Who knows? You don't. Well, there's another way. We look forward to helping out in any way we can. We're here simply as a media company to knock on the door, to identify what's going on in the market today, to identify what the news and information is saying around the country and around the world. And there it is. For the 17th of March, 2016, this has been the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour Magazine, your 1 hour all-dairy connection. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the Pacific Time Zone. It'll be Friday again, the 18th, and we'll look forward to seeing what the news has to offer, what's going on, and give you a perspective that you may not and do not get, quite frankly, anywhere else. Everyone have a safe Thursday. Enjoy, and a successful day as well, we hope, for all of you in accomplishing what you need to do. But be safe most of all. We'll be back on Friday. Bye-bye.
Imagine life without cheese. Okay, it's a horrible thought, but we're only pretending. Pasty pizzas, blah burritos, colorless casseroles, the mind boggles. Cheese transforms the eating experience. It can be creamy or crumbly, sharp or sweet, hot and gooey, or room temperature. With hundreds and hundreds of different varieties, cheese can really add zing to your meals. Behold the power of cheese, presented by the Allied Milk Producers.
Pico Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us at 1-800-344-7166.
To learn or hear more, please join us for our daily News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. It is broadcast live every morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific and 11:30 a.m. Eastern. You can join the broadcast by calling 712-432-0900. Your conference PIN number is 666632#, or you can listen to the recorded call by dialing 712-432-0990, using your same PIN number for personal access. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. We truly believe you need to and can know more. Our job is to deliver more knowledge to dairy producers, believing that if knowledge is power, then applied knowledge is nuclear power. We'll see you on the call.